Welcome to this short guide on supply and demand in economics. Over the next few minutes, we'll unpack the basic ideas that explain how markets set prices and allocate resources, why producers and consumers respond to incentives, and how those interactions affect everyday goods and services. This presentation walks through an introduction to supply and demand, the core concepts that define them, and the main factors that push these curves around, as illustrated by the simple demand chart on the slide, which highlights high, mid, and low segments across price and demand. Supply refers to the quantity of goods or services producers are willing and able to sell at different prices, and it's shaped by production capacity, input costs, and expectations. The law of supply explains why higher prices usually encourage more production, helping us understand how markets respond when incentives change. Demand captures consumers' willingness and ability to buy products at various prices, driven by tastes, incomes, and expectations. The law of demand tells us there's usually an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, and factors like substitutes, complements, and trends can shift the whole curve. Understanding supply and demand is central to economic theory, because their interaction determines market equilibrium and price signals. This process guides resource allocation, balances producer and consumer interests, and acts as the mechanism through which competitive markets coordinate production and consumption. The law of supply highlights a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. As prices rise, producers have more incentive to supply goods. Responsiveness depends on production factors like resource availability and technology, and we usually represent this relationship with an upward-sloping supply curve. The law of demand explains a downward-sloping relationship between price and quantity demanded. Higher prices generally reduce demand, as consumers look for alternatives. The substitution effect often leads buyers to switch to cheaper options, and the demand curve visually captures this negative relationship between price and quantity. Equilibrium price and quantity occur when the amount supplied equals the amount demanded, creating a stable market balance. External changes like policy or trends can shift supply or demand, upsetting equilibrium and requiring adjustments to restore efficiency and reduce wasted resources. Determinants of supply include production costs, which change with labor and material prices, technological advancements that improve efficiency, and market competition that influences output and pricing decisions. The factory image on the slide helps show how production and technology shape what firms are able to supply. Determinants of demand cover consumer preferences and trends that change willingness to buy, income levels that affect purchasing power, and the prices of related goods, substitutes, and complements that alter demand dynamics, as illustrated by the coin and supply-demand graph on this slide. External events can meaningfully shift supply and demand. Policy changes like taxes or subsidies reshape incentives. Natural disasters can disrupt production and distribution, and global market dynamics, such as trade or conflict, can ripple through prices and availability across borders. Thanks for watching this overview of supply and demand. I hope these concepts now feel more intuitive and practical. Take a moment to think about how price signals and market reactions play out in products and services you encounter every day.